Hey everyone, it's Jen.
And this is Lindsay.
And welcome to Corpus Delicti, the podcast, special edition.
Yes, we are doing another Patreon episode right now. And as we have said on the podcast before, if this is your first time tuning in, probably not, but if it is, then this is not our normal format or our normal episode. This is actually a Patreon episode, but since we're talking about missing people, we want to make sure those stories still get out as much as possible. So we decided that when we take our holiday breaks and whatnot, we're going to take the Patreon episodes and release those for everyone to hear, except not all of it because we keep some of our Patreon stuff sacred. We have a hangout session after. So anyway, if you're just joining us, this is a little bit different, little more casual. You might hear some voices that aren't ours, might not. It really just depends. So there we go.
All right. This week, our story is going to be focusing on Diamond, Bynum, and her nephew, King Walker. The two disappeared from Diamond's home and have not been found. Diamond's 21 years old, and King is a itty-bitty little 2-year-old. Diamond was diagnosed with Prader-Willi syndrome. This is a genetic condition with symptoms that include a mental disability. She will be short in stature, and she constantly feels hungry. Diamond has the mental capacity of a 5 to 7-year-old, and it's difficult for her to actually communicate and speak to others.
So, as with families who have a child that has verbal challenges, they learn to actively listen and understand their child. They adapt and learn, cues and behaviors and things of that nature that help them communicate. However, people who were unfamiliar with Diamond, they did struggle to understand her and her communication style. So, given the challenges, they knew that it was important that she could contact her family if needed. So, she was able to memorize her father's phone number. And she loved to help out around the house. She liked to help with laundry, cleaning. She would make a shopping list, and she was learning how to cook. So, to help manage her diagnosis, she was prescribed medication, and it helped with the appetite as well as helped manage behavior problems that became exaggerated when they were not taken. And there were times where it would escalate to the point where she would try to hurt herself or those around her.
Diamond is an African American female with black hair, brown eyes. She does have a bowed leg and walks with a very pronounced limp. Now, as a result, she would often walk with one arm bent. She had beautiful golden highlights in her hair at the time that she disappeared, and her teeth are not very well aligned. So let's get into the time frame of Diamond and King's disappearance. So we're going to take our journey back to February of 2015. This is when Diamond's family moved to Gary, Indiana, just to be closer to King's family. They had moved to Hammond, which is about a 22-minute drive from where they were. And this group, Diamond's family and King's family, let's really quickly do a family tree because it can get confusing. Ariana Walker and Joshua Williams are King's parents. So Ariana and Josh had King. LaShawna Walker is Diamond's mother.
So Diamond was struggling with the move, and she's used to a routine. She's used to being in a certain area around certain people, and this threw her off a little bit. It was really hard for her to adjust to the new neighborhood. And on the morning of July 25th, 2015, King was dropped off at Diamond's home, and he was going to spend the day with Diamond. Now, keep in mind, Diamond is his aunt, and Suzanne, which is King's grandmother. And King's mom, Ariana, was attending cosmetology school, and so she had to have them keep an eye on him for the day. So King would often spend weekends at his aunt and grandmother's home. Diamond loved him. He's 2 years old. He's cute. He's fun. And she liked to help out. So the next day, the family was going to celebrate Eugene Bynum's birthday, so Diamond's father. And so this day, they were going to spend the day planning the details, getting things ready. And around 10:20 a.m. that same morning, Suzanne lays down. She's going to take a quick 40-minute nap. And Diamond and King, they're in the house. She's just going to get some quick shut-eye, and then they're going to resume the party planning activities.
At 11 a.m., Suzanne wakes up from her nap and she notices the house is absolutely empty. She looks around, but she can't find Diamond and King. She searches all through the house and even goes outside to try to locate them. At first, she really wasn't that worried because, she wasn't napping for long. Surely they were just going for a quick walk, but she soon got worried. At first, Suzanne thought Diamond took King for a walk around the block because she loved going with him and taking care of him. Diamond wanted to babysit King all the time by herself, but due to her mental impairment, another family member was always around. They would give her room to make it feel like she was independent and doing it herself, while still being within earshot to lend a helping hand if needed.
So soon, panic starts to set in because her daughter and her grandson are not found anywhere. So she calls Diamond's father and then she calls the police. So Diamond's father comes to help. And as soon as he gets there, he is driving up and down the streets looking for Diamond and King. Suzanne stays at the house. She meets the police when they arrive. She fills out the missing persons report. And now the police are going door to door asking neighbors, did you see them anywhere? Anything like that. And they're thinking, somebody had to have noticed them because Diamond walks with a limp and there's a little boy. So they might would have stood out a little bit. And also because of that, they couldn't have gone too far. They're thinking they could not have made it too far from home. Diamond was not a quick walker because of the limp. So they had to be somewhere around. They're very confident and optimistic at this point. So there are a lot of bushes and overgrown areas in this area. So they're like, maybe they had to stop and go to the bathroom. Maybe they're playing hide and seek, whatever. There could be a very logical explanation. So Lieutenant Nelson Atano was assigned as the lead investigator on the case, and he told the local papers that they were conducting a targeted area search since the two were on foot, again, because they're thinking there's got to be a reasonable explanation for this.
Now, having two young children, granted they're older than two now, going for a walk with a 2-year-old, you don't walk a straight line at all. They like to stop and dart and tangent. Now, flyers are quickly made and they start handing them out to anyone they could find in the area. Later in the afternoon of July 25th, 2015, Diamond and King are still not found. Eugene would constantly have his cell phone with him because Diamond had memorized his number. But there is a glimpse of hope. There is a McDonald's approximately 2 miles from their family home. Now, a McDonald's employee tells the police that they saw both Diamond and King, and Diamond's favorite food was cheeseburgers. So they had been there before, and the police were notified that they were missing. The employees took and completed the order, and they didn't give any attention to when they came in, when they left, which way did they go, because they weren't reporting missing yet. When the police questioned the workers, they stated that it was only Diamond and King. They did not notice anyone with them, and they were very adamant that they were together. Again, she's coming in with a 2-year-old. So they were very adamant, yes, this was them, and nobody was with her. And a side note here is that the house is full of food. So at Diamond's home, they had just gone grocery shopping, and there was plenty of Diamond's favorite foods there. There's a chocolate cake that wasn't even eaten when they had gone out for their walk.
So this is really upsetting. And the family tried to have an Amber Alert sent out for Diamond and King, but they never issued one. Now, technically speaking, Diamond would be too old for an Amber Alert, but King would not. So 4 days passed. There was still no sign of Diamond or King. The family, obviously very upset. They are worried to death. Diamond was still unfamiliar with this area. Keep in mind, they had just moved, and they were scared that she was lost because with her diagnosis, it would be a challenge for her to care for not only herself, but for little King as well. So on July 29th, the Indiana Department of Homeland Security began assisting the Gary Police Department, and they had agents who were searching abandoned buildings that were within that search area. And they're hoping, you know what, again, maybe they got lost. Maybe they were looking for shelter in an abandoned building, did the right thing, got, a roof over their head. But the city was experiencing a really bad heat wave at that time. And they thought, maybe they had to seek shelter somewhere out in the sun, maybe under, in a big wooded area or whatever. So they're thinking of every possible thing and they're trying to seek it out, but they're just not finding anything.
Now, LaShawn Walker told the news that she had been out there searching abandoned buildings. And she told the news that said, look, I know it's dangerous, but it's not going to stop me. She was going to find her babies and she was going to do everything in her power to do so. Now, the area where the family lived was a neighborhood that had a lot of abandoned homes. Gary, Indiana had this huge economic boom for a long time, but as the big businesses left, so did the population. So there's a lot of empty homes, a lot of empty buildings in and around that neighborhood. There are over 500 vacant buildings that was searched during the looking for Diamond and King. And one of the volunteers said, you can go into these abandoned buildings not knowing what you're going to find. And that's what scares me the most, going into the houses and finding someone. So what she's referencing here is maybe finding homeless people, maybe finding people that are coming down from a drug high. So these buildings are not looked after and they're just pretty much free for anyone who just happens to walk in them.
They bring in K-9 units. They're doing what they can. Still no signs of Diamond or King. But they did pick up their scent at a local gas station and at the railroad tracks. But both times, the dogs eventually lost their scent. They were able to pull video footage from the Go-Lo at 11th Avenue and Clark Road, but it didn't yield any good leads. And this is the gas station where the bloodhounds got a hit on the scent briefly before it lost the trail. So 2 days later, on July 31st, 2015, someone comes forward with a tip and they say, hey, I think I saw Diamond at a local bus stop near Diamond's home. And this person said she was begging for money to eat. And someone gave her $50. But the witness says, I did not see a little boy. There was no one else with her. So was this actually her? If it was, did they get separated? Again, she does have some distinguishing features as far as the limp and everything like that. So are we sure it was her? Are we not? Don't know.
Some key information about this encounter would not be released to the public and still hasn't been. The police are keeping this information private until the case has been solved. Around this time, the U.S. Postal Service started distributing flyers to the zip codes in Gary, East Chicago, Hammond, and Chicago proper, hoping someone can come forward with any type of information. Now we're 3 days more into the search, and the family gets news that no parent wants to hear. On August 3rd, 2015, Gary police notified the parents that they're calling off the search. The police are telling the parents, we're done searching, the rest is on you. They will no longer be actively looking for Diamond and King. Their reasoning is that all of their resources had dried up. But I will say this, the leading detective, Lieutenant Otano, still searches through the thick brush and grass near and around the home. And he does this on his days off to still help try to find Diamond and King. Now, the family has offered a $1,000 reward for any information leading the police to Diamond or King. And they actually started a GoFundMe page. And they used the GoFundMe money to provide water and food and gas to all the volunteers that helped them in their search. So we're looking at a very giving, a very loving family that's like, hey, if you want to help us find Diamond and King, we will pay gas, we'll give you food, and we'll give you water.
In August of 2015, there was another glimpse of hope. There was another sighting of Diamond and King that was reported. And this sighting is unconfirmed, but it comes when a few witnesses think they saw Diamond and King at a White Castle in Roseland. Now, Roseland is about 67 miles from Diamond's home in Gary. What is concerning here is that they were not alone. The witnesses said that there was a woman with them, and that is all they are saying. That is all the information that they are releasing on that. So another unconfirmed sighting was reported at a Checkers restaurant. And again, they're keeping this one close to the cuff and not releasing a lot of information about this. It is interesting that they are all happening at fast food locations. You know, it makes me hope there's something there and that it really was them and they're okay and safe.
The investigators began another tactic in investigating the disappearance in August of 2015. They began looking into local sex offenders in the area and became interested in a particular 34-year-old. But after several weeks of locating him and conducting interviews, they did determine he was not involved in any other way. Over a month will go by before finally a silver alert is sent out. Now, this alert is mainly used for the elderly when they go missing. They issued a silver alert for Diamond.
The Amber Alert was not issued because that you have to confirm an abduction.
This element requires description about the child, the abduction, as well as descriptive information about the suspect and the suspect's vehicle.
So the Northwest Indiana Major Crimes Task Force took an interest in Diamond and King's case in October of 2016. They set up a war room at the Gary Police Department, and they spent a week just hammering through all the files, all the interviews, any possible leads. They go out, they are re-interviewing people to see if they remembered anything else, but they retested items in the crime lab. They did new canine searches. They're talking to everyone again. Nothing panned out yet again. So a few more years go by, and now it is July 24th, 2019. It has been 4 years, and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children created and shared an age-progressed image of what King would look like as a 6-year-old boy at that time.
In 2021, the family of the missing Diamond and King tried to hire a private investigator. Or they actually went to the police department and said, hey, is there an off-duty police officer that can help us in our search? They get turned down. They said they have to have special permission from the Gary Police Department. And yet, every time they've asked, they never get an answer. Everything just kind of goes off into the nether and nothing gets responded to. And to add even more insult to this, Eugene Bynum's Facebook, so Diamond's dad's Facebook gets hacked. And the person who hacked it confessed that he or she, we don't know the gender, is responsible for Diamond and King's disappearance. Now, the police are like, look, this is incredible. This is a joke. This is someone being really nefarious and nasty and ugly. But it does add torment to this family. They've lived through a lot. Just to kind of reiterate, Diamond is at the time 4 feet 8 inches tall. She's approximately 210 pounds with gold highlights in her hair. Remember, her disorder makes her eat a lot, so her weight may be different now because she doesn't have access to her medication. At the time, she was wearing a white shirt and blue jeans. King is just this cute as a button 2-year-old. He is an African-American male. At the time he disappeared, he was 3 feet and he was about 35 pounds at the time. His hair was braided, wearing a blue shirt and red shorts.
So there are a few theories about what could have happened here. The first one is that they got lost on their way back home. They're in a new area. Diamond is not very familiar with this area. She has this limp. She can't walk very fast. We do know that it's very, very likely that they were at this McDonald's because police did find that part credible. That was the one that was 2 miles from their house. They ordered food, ate, and left the restaurant. And that walk, again, was about 2 miles away. The bloodhounds that they brought in did get a hit at the gas station that is nearby to there, and they lost the track. But did they maybe take the wrong turn? So they made it to the McDonald's. They go back home, But since they went towards this gas station, which was kind of in the opposite direction, close, but in the opposite direction, did they go the wrong way?
Another theory is that they got lost in abandoned buildings. Now, there are numerous abandoned buildings in and around the area of Diamond's home, and it's August and in a heat wave. So the theory is that maybe after they left McDonald's, instead of taking that one turn back to their house, they get disoriented, they get lost, and they get into an abandoned building. Unfortunately, could it have been unstable? Could it have been condemned? And they were hurt, whether it was a falling beam or someone falling through the floor.
Then another theory, which we touched on a little bit, is that woman who was at White Castle. Now, again, that is an unconfirmed sighting, but the police are keeping some of that information close to the cuff. So was this woman out there, sees this girl who needs help, has a small child, decides to take them thinking she's helping, but then why wouldn't you call social services or police or whatever?
Another one was, were they just victims of opportunity? Diamond and King are very vulnerable. Diamond was cognitively at a 5-year-old's understanding, and King, again, is just 2. Could they have been taken or murdered by someone who just happened to see them and took it as an opportunity?
And I don't know. To me, 2 miles seems like a long way for them to go. Cause like you said, with a toddler running around and she, is a slower walker, that seems like a long way to go to me.
But it's one turn. So you leave their house, you go straight down to the busy road, take a right, and then McDonald's, you see the sign. So having been at the house for such a short period of time, she probably had that part memorized. I think what happened is on her way back, she just made a wrong turn.
Or, I mean, if it's on a busy road, unfortunately, what if, they got hit and somebody was like, oh no, I don't have insurance, or, whatever it is, hit and run type situation, or, had to try and cover up, God forbid, Yeah,
it's a difficult story, but you would think this one would have been solved pretty quickly.
Yeah, because it just seems like on the surface that they couldn't have gotten that far, you would think. But, obviously anything is possible. So that wraps up this week's story. We are going to go ahead and say goodbye to the public here because we're going to hang out with our Patreon supporters for a little bit. So we will be back next week with another episode.
All right. Bye, Felicia.
Bye.
Bye.
We're here in the matter of the United States of America versus...
Following is a collect call from a person presumed nice until proven naughty.
Y'all, Santa Claus is locked up, and I'm gonna get him out. My name's Richie Buck. I'm an amateur podcaster and investigator. I'm an Investipodster. I came up with that. If you like true crime, feelings of the holidays, and I ain't just talking about Christmas, and satire, well, Santa May Be a Criminal just might be for you. Some of your favorite true crime podcasters have joined in to spin this yarn.
I'm Chet. If the mitten ain't a fitting.
Can you tell who's who?
Stop acting like
And is Santa a criminal? Let's find out together.
Could be some kind of elf in Tourette's.
Santa May Be a Criminal. Listen and subscribe now, wherever you get your podcasts.
Got run over by a reindeer.
Ho, ho,